Hello, today we're going to look at parallel and perpendicular lines and writing equations for both of those given different situations. So what we're going to do is first look at the three forms of a line. There is your standard form, which we don't use all that often, ax plus bx equals ax plus by equals c. Slope-intercept and point slope we use much more often. Um, and it, I tend to use this first one, but some books tend to use the second one. And if you're familiar with one, go right ahead and keep using it. So we have to know about what happens when lines are parallel. If two lines are parallel, their slopes are going to be exactly the same. If we keep going up like this, these two slopes are exactly the same. You have to go up and over the same amount so they don't hit each other. Now, perpendicular lines have a different situation. If one slope is positive, the other one has to be negative. And there's a relationship. Say if this one has a slope that's 4 over 3, this one would have to be negative, but it's the reciprocal of this, which would be 3 over 4. So that's the relationship. So now if we have two lines, y equals 2x minus 1, the slope that's parallel to that would be slope equals 2. Now if it's going to be perpendicular, 2 is just the same as 2 over 1. So the perpendicular slope would be negative, because that's positive, it has to be negative. 1 over 2 would be the perpendicular slope. For this line over here, y equals negative 1/3 x plus 3, the slope that's parallel to it is just going to be negative 1/3. The slope that's going to be perpendicular, since that's negative, this has to be positive. The reciprocal of 1 over 3 is 3 over 1, which is just 3. All right. Now it says determine if lines WX and YZ are parallel or perpendicular. They're not definitely not parallel. Well, what you'd have to do is you'd have to find the slope of each one. So if I look at XW, I would take 2 minus 5 over 2 minus negative 3, and that's going to be negative 3 over 5. So this has a slope of negative, oops, my computer's freaking out on me here, of negative 3/5. Now this one's up 5 over 3, we're good. But it's not going to look, it doesn't look that way from just what I just saw. But if we want to figure out the slope, we could do 7 minus 3 over 1 minus negative 4. So that's 4 over 5. And these are not perpendicular because these are not negative reciprocals. Now write an equation that's parallel to this line, but it goes through the point 3, 4. Well, if it's parallel to this, we know the slope has to be negative 2. Now, if I have a slope and I have a point, the best way to write is the point slope form, because I have y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So I'm going to type in y minus y1, which is 4, equals slope, negative 2, x minus my x there, which is 3. And that is an equation of a line. We could go further if we wanted to put it in slope-intercept form, but we don't need to. If we want to write an equation that's perpendicular to this line, and it goes through the point 3, 4, well, first we look at the slope. That's negative, so this one has to be positive. That's 2, so it has to be 1 over 2. So we'll do the same thing, y minus 4. Now instead, our slope is going to be 1/2 x minus 3. And that's an equation of a line that passes through point 3, 4 with a slope of negative 1/2. That's the end of the lesson.